Peace, how are you? Good morning. As you mentioned, my name is Amir, Sulaiman, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. And I've been a part of this program, Sharif, how many years? It's been a few years consecutively. So it's an honor and a gift for me to be invited back and to see your faces and even to spend a few moments with you. I'm a poet, and I'm going to recite some poetry. That said, I want you to feel at home, and I want this to be open, and so this can be more of a conversation than a presentation. So if you have questions, comments, or concerns, I want you to feel free to, voice them. Of course, I can do the, you're quiet, and I recite a poem, and then I stop, and then you clap, and then you stop, and then I recite a poem, and you stop, and then you clap, and then, I can do that. I'm a professional. I can do that. Or we could do something else, and we can take this moment to engage with each other. But of course, I can only do that with your cooperation. Are you guys down for that? Okay, good. That was probably about 60% of the audience. We need to have consensus. Do we have consensus that we can do that? Okay, good. We'll do that. Thank you. She asked, what does it feel like when a poem comes out? I said, it's like I'm writing my insides out. And I got to get it out before my pen dries out, before my ego finds out. Can't let my ego find out. Because when I'm writing my insides out, my every fear, my every flaw flies out. In my ego, where those fears and flaws I hide out. So whatever I do, can't let my ego find out. And if I couldn't write my insides out, I don't know, I'd probably blow my bloody mind out. Instead, I write and recite to bloom your third eye out. She said, oh, that's what danger and Dead Man Walking's all about. I said, yeah. She said, well, I'm glad you took the divine route. And I said, yes, I took the divine route, but it's only a matter of time before the world finds out this is both heaven and hell coming out of my mouth. And she asked, where is the truth hidden? And I laughed, not because she asked, but because as I'm living, I'm learning that the truth is hidden everywhere, literally everywhere. There is no place you can scour, search, or visit except the truth is in it. The truth is hidden even in the question, where is the truth hidden? In truth, the truth isn't hidden. It can't be hidden. It is a true and living. Those that are seeking to hide the truth try to convince me and you that they hid it, but they didn't. It is not that the truth isn't being spoken. Perhaps we are just not ready to listen. Certainly we are not ready to listen. And you may be at home in my poem, and if not, you may just visit. And if you can't visit, maybe you shouldn't listen. My poetry is not for everyone. It's no navy blue Yankee fitted. In fact, it's highly acidic, enough to burn through the mind of a critic. Why be a cynic? When we're moving beyond the speed of light, there is no difference between time and distance. Such I'm both here and there in the same instant. For instance, I'm both man and infant, both devil and angel. I'm both the witness and the witness, both monk and misfit. I am the medicine in this sick. And if you would like to know what the truth is, I said, I wrote the answer to access to the seven senses, and I told sis, hold this close to your heart and to your soul, sit still when the summer solstice. She said, I can't keep my soul still, it's hard to hold my focus. She said, I've noticed that I can't seem to focus on any real goals, I can only focus on what's closest. She said, how do you know what your goal is? I said, I don't. I just want to save the souls of the soulless, an eviction notice, stapled to the heart of the heedless. Souls left homeless, no place of resilience, so they hide out and slide in the bodies of two-eyed men. So my lyricism is an exercise in exorcism, but the exoteric call it esotericism. I learned jihad for Rumi. The Sunni call me Shia, the Shia call me Sufi. The feds I have WMDs from what I do with the loose leaf, because what I do with the loose leaf make devils lose sleep. And I don't care who's on whose deen. I follow the one who ascended the seven heavens and lands on 2 feet. And it may be too deep, but it is only by his light that you can see through me. And if by his light we have sight, then what is the meaning of day and what is the meaning of night? And I would like not to say that I'm living at night, but I'm living very late asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. Rough translation, I'm a loser. I aim to block his light, yet claim to follow his sunnah. The truth is, I wish I could sing so I can mask the bitter truth with sweet melody. Unfortunately for both you and me, I only know how to speak straight with direct diction that doesn't allow for mistakes. She said, but you speak so whole. While the beat breaks, it's so ill, it's so real. I said, it's so real, but I'm so fake. She said, but you sound so sure. I said, that's the point. I'm not sure. I'm barely afloat in the sea without shore. And if you've seen what I saw, then you will certainly know that certainty without flaw is often delusion and no certainty at all. And when it is certainly certainty, he may be like the drunken monk, a man so on his square, looking at any moment he will fall, but he never falls. At that moment, she paused and began to recite Vagabond. I was surprised she nearly memorized my whole poem. She said, if I'm a traveler in this world, then where do I find home? I say, just keep your nose to the grindstone. Tell your mind to never mind the unknown. This is why I rhyme like the Spirit of God is in my poem, because in the beginning there was the Word, and before that there was the unheard, the unseen. There is nothing past but the present. There is nothing past the past but the present. Just as the moon begins with a crescent, it seems that way, but in that there is the lesson. The whole moon's always present. The whole moon's always present. The whole moon's always present. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? I'm just keeping up my side of the deal. I'm just checking in with you and everybody's okay. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, yes. Okay. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, say it again. Why are we prisoners to our ego? Man, because that's exactly what the ego is for. But I say that the ego is an enemy, for sure. But it's the kind of enemy to make you stronger. For example, if I'm doing push-ups, I'm working against gravity. Right? So I'm gonna lay my body flat in an angle that puts the most weight on my upper body, and I'm gonna do push-ups. So every time I push up, I'm working against gravity. So my gravity is my opponent. What if I defeated gravity? What would the push-up do? How could I be strong? I couldn't be strong because I don't have that force that's pulling me down such that I can develop power by pushing against it. You know? So the ego, as a gift from God, although it's an enemy, it is like a training program that's been downloaded into our system, into our hard drive, because it always adapts. It'll never finish. You know, oftentimes if you find people that say they're finished with their ego has totally conquered them. That means they've lost totally because they can't even see or feel the fight anymore. So we succumb to our egos because the human being, its nature is to do that, but also the nature of the human being. And this is what can cause us to ascend beyond the level of the angels, is our ability to still engage with the reality of God despite our ego. But succumbing to our egos can make us worse than pigs and the lowest beast that God created. We can descend to that level. So the human being has this great potential to be among the angels, or beyond the angels even, or be the utter scum of the earth. And we see both of those manifestations in our world today, but that's good to be able to witness it, but it's more impressive to witness those characteristics in our own selves and to look at our own selves and say, man, in this category, in this way, man, this is what I say in the poem, I'm a monk and misfit, I'm a devil and an angel, both witness, the monk and the misfit, I'm the medicine and this sick, meaning that all of the worst things that I've seen from people, the only way my eye can recognize it is because it's familiar with something that I have in myself. And so as much as in this work, even in the work that you're doing, the work that we're doing in the world, and we're fighting for justice, and we're supporting the weak and defending the weak, and we're speaking for those who don't have a voice against tyranny and oppression, to be very aware of how those same characteristics are expressed in ourselves, but no one is making a big to-do about it because our power is small. Just as an example, man. Okay, I'm gonna mention one more thing about this, and because I could feel myself, I'm about to veer off and give a whole sermon. So I'm not gonna do that. But that the call for justice, especially the divine call for justice, when you're working for justice, but also you're calling for the justice to descend from the heavens, from God himself, and you're asking for justice, you're begging justice, you're seeking that. Justice falls like a heavy rain over an open field. What I mean by that is there's no one is safe from it. There's no shelter that can shelter one from it. So although I'm talking about a certain type of oppression, if I'm also an oppressor just to my daughter, or I'm also an oppressor just to my wife, or also an oppressor just to this one or that one, that rain, that justice that I'm asking to come down, it's going to come down on my head as well. So when we're calling for justice, especially the divine justice, we have to be very careful, because if God responds to our call, many of us may not make the cut. So for us to seek safety from God by not oppressing people, and not even oppressing our own selves, and not oppressing people, or our own bodies, not oppressing people. And also, this is a means by which to bring the favor of God upon a servant, that this one is diligent in his private moments. He's about justice. Not just when, like me, I'm here, I'm talking on the stage, and I'm going to say rah, 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 but then when I go home, what is this servant like? So that wrestling with that ego is central in this work. It's not a peripheral, it is the absolute, the success of the work is in that. Thank you very much for your question. Yes, sir.
Can you explain the relationship between your journey towards Grammy nomination and the same topic of battling your ego? What the implications between your journey? What kind of training do you think you receive? What kind of tools do you drive towards?
He asked me about my path. Thank you for your question. My path to Grammy nomination, and how did that affect my ego, and how did I manage that journey? This is very interesting, because the thing I love about the Grammys is that, first of all, you can't really, art is so subjective, you can't really have a clear winner or a clear loser, in a definitive way, like you can in a basketball game, for example. But I love it. I love competing. I love winning. And this is the interesting thing about this, is that in relationship to the question just answering about the ego, that in order to compete, there has to be some ego, because the pleasure of winning is one thing, but it's also because someone else lost. So like someone else has to lose to have the pleasure of winning. And then also you have to yourself have the fear of losing, and that brings the exhilarating feeling of winning, And so in some ways I would try to defend myself from that, say, I don't care, but secretly I would care. But, man, I'm above that, and what do they know about poetry and all that, right? But then I was like, dang, you do care. So I had to interrogate myself about, why do you care, and what is it? And it's just a game. And caring is actually what makes it fun. It's like if you went to play a pickup basketball game, and you're playing, but you don't care about winning or losing, it kills the game. It kills the fun of what it is to play a game. So it was investing enough to play the game so that it's fun, which consists of the fear of losing and the exhilaration of winning, but also not to play the game like if you see someone on a pickup game and they playing like, if they lose, their firstborn child is going to be martyred or something, then, you're like, okay, maybe you're this is too much. We're just here, playing, we're just here with a pickup game. Allowing myself, my ego, allowing my selfhood to have its space. It's like training an animal. If you have a dog, you can't just let your dog do whatever it wants, but you can't just trap it in a cage all its life. So you have to give it its room, but you have to keep it on a leash. So with the Grammys, I give myself the room to play this game, winning and losing and being better than other people, and being able to But the other poets, all the other poets, I know them all personally. And so we talk trash and all of that and, who wins the Grammy and all of that. So it's just, I keep it at that level of it being something where we can engage in a game, but not so much that I think that it's actually real. Yeah, yes, sir. I'm going to recite another poem, okay? Okay. There's no way to clothe what I've laid naked. There's no way to hide the burning sun. I'm nearly unconscious, barely existing. Love is pressing me out of living, out of dying. There's no use in resisting. Who would want their heart broken? But now that mine has been split open, I wonder who would want their heart closed, ever? Can you drink from the coconut without striking it? Can you smell the aloes wood without lighting it? There's so much sweetness in violence. There's so much beauty in breaking. Can you birth without bleeding and crying and screaming and dying? I've been lying, living on the outside of life, bleeding my gums against a coconut shell. Not until I smash my, before I recited this poem, I should have mentioned something. So I'm going to mention it now. The reason I'm reciting this poem, it's a poem about love and being brokenhearted. And this applies to traditional romantic relationships. But this is a big part of community work that sometimes we don't talk about. That it breaks your heart. Yeah, it breaks your heart. And the only way to prevent your heart from being broken is to use your heart. And some people resort to that. They create layers and shields and armor, but then they're no good to the work because they prevented themselves from caring. And I have empathy for them because I get it. I see why you would do that. Oftentimes, you're fighting an uphill battle. Oftentimes, it's hard to see the progress. Oftentimes, you're feeling that you have to defend yourself from your own people or directly the people that you're trying to assist and to benefit and to do good for. And the heart can be, damaged in that, harmed in that, struck with that. This also, whether it's in a romantic relationship or otherwise, so this same meaning from this poem, that the heart must be broken. And the point of life is not to keep the heart from breaking. That the point of life, a well-lived life, that the heart will be broken. But that's what it's for. Meaning, I mentioned a coconut in the poem. If you were to see a coconut and hold a coconut, if you didn't know better, you would never imagine. It's like this hard, hairy. It's kind of among the fruits, it's, like a strawberry you look at, you need to eat it. You know what I'm saying? An orange, It's like, that's for eating. A coconut, it looks like a hairy rock. Who would know? That inside the coconut, there's the tender, delicate flesh, the refreshing drink inside the coconut you would never imagine. And a coconut does not open neatly. It doesn't have like a banana has the peel, it opens very neatly. A coconut, you have to strike it. You have to commit violence against the coconut in order for it to give up what God has given to it. And so likewise, the heart, it is necessary to, let me tell you something that will break your heart. You ever go to a place, grocery store, and you go and you pick out a mango? Mangoes in particular. Maybe avocados, but mangoes particular. So you look over all the mangoes, you're just touching and smelling them, and you're picking out the best 5 that you can find or whatever. You bring them home, but they're not quite ready, right? So, I'm going to put them in the cupboard, I'm going to put them in the counter. I say, man, in 2 days, 3 days, this is going to be right. But then you forget. Then you come back to those mangoes. You want to talk about a broken heart. You come back to those mangoes, and they're no good. Now, you pick those mangoes because you love those mangoes. You love to eat a mango, so you went and your time and attention and your eye and your nose and your fingers and everything engaged in selecting these mangoes. So you love the mango. But does your love of the mango keep the mango whole? Nah, what you want to do is you want to tear into the mango. You want to tear its flesh from its skin with your teeth. You want to devour the mango. You want to, for all intents and purposes, destroy the mango. You want to tear it limb from limb, so to speak. To see a mango whole and expired is a tragedy. This is like the people whose hearts have yet to be broken. You have this heart, you don't even know what's in it. It's never been broken. Anyone who has had a broken heart will know something about this. And those of you who have not, God have mercy on you. May Allah grant you to be among the brokenhearted, such that you will know the sweet, delicate flesh that's hidden under that husk. It's invisible to you. There's no way to access it, and there's no neat way. The heart doesn't have a button or doesn't peel neatly like a banana. It has to be struck and struck and struck until it gives up what it has. So this broken heart is the heart that can actually be in service, because the one who is seeking to preserve the wholeness of their heart will end up with one of these mangoes. It's a tragedy. But the one whose heart is open, they and others can benefit from the gift that God has put in it. Okay, I'm going to recite the poem. There's no way to clothe what I've laid naked. There's no way to hide the burning sun. I'm nearly unconscious, barely existing. Love is pressing me out of living, out of dying. There's no use in resisting. I used to wonder who would want their heart broken. But now that mine has been split open, I wonder who would want their heart closed, ever? Can you drink from the coconut without striking it? Can you smell the aloes wood without lighting it? There's so much sweetness in violence, so much beauty in breaking. Can you birth without bleeding and crying and screaming and dying? I've been lying, living on the outside of life, bleeding my gums against the coconut shell. Not until I smash my hardened heart against harder rocks that I learn that living is a labor, but dying is an art. And make no mistake, I am injured, ruptured, my heart a sweet sun-warmed mango, split open, its juices unruly, flagrant, sultry, fragrant, insane, sacred, noble, and naked. Thank you, brother. Verses like vagrants, strangers in places that were once home. I no longer have one of those. I'm nearly unconscious, barely existing. Love is pressing me out of living, out of dying. There's no use in resisting of beauty and breaking. I'll just take up maybe one or two more questions, and I'm going to recite a last poem, and then I'm going to be on my way. I really appreciate this space. I appreciate my brother Sharif, who keeps inviting me back, and hearing even more of your story even today. Alhamdulillah, only deepen my love and respect for you and for your family and for this work that you're doing and where this work is coming from. Alhamdulillah, your family and your ancestors, mashallah, Allah bless you and that you make them proud. Alhamdulillah. Yes. Yes, what's the most challenging part of my creative process of keeping track of all the thoughts and writing them down? I think maybe just because I've been doing this a very long time, since I was a little boy. I just take notes as parts, pieces and fragments come, so there might be a few lines here and a few lines there, and I just notate them. And really, it's being in the state. It's not so much like writing the words, but being in the state of being that I want to be in order to compose that. Generally speaking, I don't think I want to write a poem about such and such, and then I write the poem. Generally, I have to just fill my heart up with what I want. And when I fill meaning what I want to be, what I want my art to mean, fill my heart up with it, and then when I open my heart, that's what comes out. More so than thinking with my mind about, I want to write a poem about this subject or that subject. So facilitating that state, and that's in engaging with the divine source of creativity and creation. When I find myself, aligned with Allah and in a state of real remembrance and connection to that, then those channels open up. If I'm just coming from my ego, as we mentioned before, because I've done this a long time, I can still write good things, but it doesn't have life. It's like clever, and maybe clever words or whatever, but it doesn't have the spirit in it that I need for it to have. So that's the most challenging part that I have to tend to most often. Yeah, there's another question behind. He asked about the process of healing. To tell the truth, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And I'm saying that not to dodge the question, but earnestly, I feel in a transition in thinking even about healing and what it is, even like the poem that I recited. And there was a time when I thought keeping the heart whole and healing the heart for it to be whole was the point. And now I'm in a place more that, the breaking and the willingness to break. Still to be valuable, still be able to serve, but allowing the heart to be actually impacted by the reality of what I see in the world. So I don't have maybe next year, if Sharif invites me back, maybe I'll have a better answer for you. I feel like I've been ignoring this side. Oh, yes. Wa alaikum salam.
What is your perspective on poets and creatives using artificial intelligence as a regular part of their creative?
What do I feel about artists, poets, and creatives using artificial intelligence as a regular part of their process? Early on, probably about a year and a half or 2 years ago, I asked ChatGPT, write me a poem in the style of Amir Sulaiman. I wanted to see what it would write. So, it wrote a poem. I'm light years ahead of it for sure. I was like, nothing to worry about there. But I find it, for example, I write for film and television. So the way that I found to use it I don't really use it with my poetry, but in my writing for film and television as kind of to bounce ideas off of. what if I had this character do this? Or what do you do that? But for it to actually do creative work, to tell you the truth, not because out of a moral standing, I haven't found it to be very good. I haven't found it to produce, even if I was hey, write a scene, I give them the rundown of the scene and say, write the scene. I haven't found it to be consistently good. And it ends up taking me more time and more energy, managing the AI than it does take work off my plate. So I gave it a go. I wanted to see what it could do. And I'm not a person that's afraid of, advancements in technology in that kind of way. But at this point, even where it is and how, advanced it is, I haven't found it that it makes my life or my job easier. In fact, it's an additional labor of managing it to get it to do right. So, yes. Yes, bro.
Quick question.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I think sometimes black people, I feel like black people sometimes are the only race that's talking. Black women, they gotta experience struggle to really love. I think as black men, we gotta get out the mud, we gotta be good, you gotta go through this traumatic experience to make it to the top and feel love. And I feel like with other races, like the Asian, white, or something like that, it's not the same. I feel like black men have to experience struggle. That message is told to black people. I feel like it's not told to white people or Asian people. Can you just clarify that?
Yeah, so he's making a good clarification. He's saying that what I was saying about the heart being broken and the virtues of the brokenhearted, he's saying he finds this to be a type of teaching that only black people get. He mentioned examples of the black woman having to struggle and that's her virtue is in her struggling, or the black man getting out the mud. And he says that type of programming, that type of teaching, he finds especially towards black people and not other races. A couple points I want to mention, points of clarification, but to speak directly to what you're saying first, just so you understand the context of the rest of the answer, is that I've abandoned modeling or comparing myself to other people. Meaning, if this is something that black people do Mexicans do it? Like, do white people do it? I've abandoned that context by which to measure the virtue of something. That is it something that other people do? If it's something that other people do, then it's okay. But if it's something that's only black people, then it's dubious. So I just want to say that as a framework for how I measure the benefit of idea. The articulation of actually these ideas I find among black people, but I find in many traditions. So for example, some of even what I'm referencing in that poem are from Persian poets, they're from Arab poets, they're from Indian poets that have come to this same realization. Even the Japanese artists, if you read, The Five Rings or The Art of War, or even many of the philosophy of the Bushido, of the samurai thing, you'll find these concepts there, and about how virtue is produced through struggle. And without any kind of struggle, the heart becomes, when I say soft, maybe I shouldn't use the word soft, but the heart can become weak and become useless. And what we've been through has made us a peculiar people. And what we've been through has made us something different. And I would not trade with anyone. I wouldn't trade with anyone. And this is controversial a bit, because the way I became what I am, we became what we are, is through a uniquely tragic experience, uniquely. But through that unique tragic experience, and I'm only going to talk for about 120 seconds more, because I've exceeded my time. But what you're saying is really important, and I want to speak to it. That, for example, if a person, if they go blind, their hearing increases, right? If they lose something, the body responds by elevating something else. What the black people in America, in this particular slave experience here, it cut off all the windows to the soul, meaning it was illegal to educate, it was illegal to practice your religion, it was illegal to know your name and your lineage, it was illegal to own your own property. All of the things that make a human, all those things were cut off. But what it did is it made us more human than humans. And the proof of this is that we create cultural products that spread all over the world. That you'll hear our cultural products in Seoul, Korea, and Moscow, and in Mexico City. And to do that one time, if you find the people on the planet Earth that produce a cultural product that all of the human beings agree upon, it's very rare. We do it every generation. Our jazz, our gospel, our hip hop, our rock and roll, all of that, we do over and over again. Part of that is because of the tragedy of what happened, and allowed the soul to produce human products that are so deeply human that any human being that engages them, they are overwhelmed and they find a connection with them. So I don't mean, and I don't want to confuse this like, I'm a podcast with a beard and glasses and Chelsea boots on talking about high value women, and I'm glad you made that distinction, because I'm not trying to go down that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about that all souls are going to go through struggle. This world is, the nature of this world is for that. How the human beings respond to that struggle is what gives a man or a woman virtue, and what also can destroy a man or woman and make them more debased than apes and swine. So that is the only distinction I'm making. Pardon me for speaking a little long. I'm very thankful to you for your patience and your warm welcome. I thank all the organizers who facilitated bringing me here, and I ask God to bless you.